Hello everyone, my name is Julie, and I'd like to share my story with you. My mother-in-law, Kelly, wasn't always the vain and shallow woman she is today. This transformation in her personality happened later in life, or at least that's what my husband, James, believes. Growing up, James and Kelly lived a modest life. They didn't have much, but they made do with what they had. When James was just 5 years old, his father passed away, leaving Kelly to take on the role of the family's breadwinner. She worked hard to provide for them, and they led a simple yet content life until James graduated from college and landed a great job. James is an extraordinary man, kind, intelligent, and humble. He earned a full scholarship to medical school and went on to become a doctor. Despite all his success, James has never let it get to his head. However, things began to change for Kelly as she started seeking a more luxurious lifestyle. I should mention that I don't have a job, and there are personal reasons for that, which I'll discuss later. But just because I'm not employed doesn't mean I'm poor or dependent on others. Unfortunately, when Kelly and I first met, she misjudged me. Perhaps it was the way I dressed or carried myself, but something about me seemed to rub her the wrong way. On our first meeting, Kelly turned to James and said, "Is this the girl you've been talking about? She's so plain and average. Why would you choose someone like her? Does she even have a job?" My name is Julie, and yes, I don't have a job, but that doesn't define my worth. Kelly, however, quickly labeled me as a gold digger and a parasite, assuming I was only with James for his money. She made harsh and unfounded judgments about my character. James stood by me and defended me, but the argument with Kelly quickly escalated, forcing us to leave. On the drive home, James apologized for his mother's behavior, admitting that she had crossed a line. He tried to comfort me, saying his mom wasn't the same person she used to be and asking me not to take her words to heart. Despite his reassurance, I couldn't shake the feeling that being around Kelly would be difficult. After all, she's the only parent James has left. I decided to step back and give Kelly some space. Cutting her off completely isn't an option, especially since we don't have much extended family. But I knew that finding a way to coexist with her would be a challenge I had to face. "I won't force you to be friends with her," James said, "but can you at least try to be civil when you're around her?" "I can be respectful towards your mom, James, but I doubt she'll do the same for me," I replied, feeling a mix of frustration and concern. "Don't worry, Julie," he reassured me. "I'll make sure she doesn't cross the line. If things get out of hand, we can talk about reducing contact. I love my mom, but I love you too, and I won't let her harass you for no reason." Despite James's assurances, I still felt uneasy about my relationship with Kelly. Even though James promised to stand up for me, I couldn't shake the feeling that things wouldn't be so simple. James and I got married 2 years after we started dating. Due to financial constraints, we opted for a small court wedding. At the time, James was sending a significant amount of money to Kelly every month, claiming it was for emergencies. Even after our marriage, he continued to send her money, which strained our finances. I didn't object because I believed he had the right to support his mom, but it wasn't long before Kelly became a real problem in our lives. She often spoke ill of me, gossiping with her friends and spreading rumors that I was a gold digger. At first, I tried to ignore it, but as the rumors began to affect my reputation, it became harder to brush off. Despite James's efforts to defend me, Kelly never treated me kindly. She seemed convinced that I wasn't good enough for her son. Then, one day, James came to me with surprising news. "My mom wants to invite you to a small party she's hosting," he said. I was immediately skeptical. "Why would she invite me when she clearly dislikes me?" I asked, not hiding my doubts. James explained, "She promised me she's trying to improve and wants you to be there. I know it seems odd, especially with her recent financial struggles, but she assured me she managed somehow." Despite my concerns, I agreed to attend the party. James was hopeful that his mom was making an effort, and I wanted to keep an open mind. I truly wanted us to mend our relationship and maybe even become friends, though I had serious doubts about whether Kelly would ever see me as more than an obstacle in her son's life. The next day, Kelly texted me, and I'd assumed it was to formally invite me to the party. However, her message took an unexpected turn. She started by talking about the party, which she planned to host at a 5-star hotel that everyone had been raving about. She seemed thrilled, promising her friends a fantastic time and planning to invite around 21 people. Curious about the details, I asked Kelly if I was invited to the party, especially since James had assured me that I was welcome. To my surprise, Kelly's response was laced with arrogance and disdain. She made it very clear that I was not invited, emphasizing how exclusive the event was due to her wealth, family status, and the supposed high-class nature of her friends. I was shocked and confused. James had genuinely believed that Kelly intended to invite me, and now I was faced with this unexpected coldness. When I mentioned my assumption that I was invited, Kelly responded with condescending remarks, implying that I wouldn't understand the complexities of planning such an event. Despite feeling hurt, I decided to maintain my dignity. I calmly acknowledged her message and made it clear that I wouldn't attend if I wasn't wanted. Kelly reiterated her stance, once again highlighting her class and status. It took all my strength to resist the urge to respond with anger. Disappointed and hurt, I chose not to share this incident with James. Instead, I decided to quietly wait for the day of the party. As the day of the party approached, Kelly, oblivious to the emotional impact of her actions, sent me a picture. It showed her and her friends dressed in designer outfits, flaunting their wealth and status on social media. I chose not to respond, instead focusing on my work and waiting patiently for what would happen next. After about 5 hours, I received a call from my dad. Here's a little confession. My dad owns the very hotel where Kelly was hosting her party. Unbeknownst to Kelly, 5 years ago, I inherited a substantial amount of money from my grandfather, which I wisely invested in my dad's business. As a result, I now receive a share of the profits from the hotel and other family-owned ventures. Despite coming from a well-off family, I've always preferred to keep this low-key, which is why Kelly had no idea about my background or the high cost of the 5-star hotel she had chosen for her party. During the party, Kelly and her friends ordered freely without bothering to check the menu or the prices, resulting in a hefty $5,000 bill. This turn of events presented the perfect opportunity for a bit of justice. My dad called to inform me that Kelly was at the hotel, shocked by the $5,000 bill she had amassed. She was now pleading for a 60% discount, claiming she was short on cash. What made the situation even more satisfying was that Kelly and her friends had been rude and entitled throughout the event, upsetting the hotel staff. As expected, I shared my frustration with my dad, recounting how Kelly had boasted about her party just to mock me for not being invited. The irony wasn't lost on me here. She was flaunting a party she couldn't even afford. My dad understood my frustration and also mentioned how difficult Kelly and her friends had made things for his staff with their rude behavior. Seeing a chance for some poetic justice, I suggested a little revenge. I proposed that Kelly and her friends should be made to wash the dishes, clean the entire kitchen, and mop the floors as a consequence of their insulting behavior. I wanted to make sure that everyone who had mistreated the staff would face the same consequences. And if Kelly tried to pull any tricks, my dad could always call the cops on her. My dad laughed at the idea and gave it a big thumbs up. He even offered to send me pictures of the whole event. It seemed like the perfect opportunity to turn the tables on Kelly and teach her a lesson about humility and respect. Just the thought of it brought a sense of satisfaction, knowing she would finally face the consequences of her actions. A little over an hour later, my dad sent me pictures of Kelly and her friends washing dishes and scrubbing the floors at our restaurant. The images were priceless. My dad also shared a funny twist in the story. When Kelly spotted him at the restaurant, she looked relieved, thinking she was about to be rescued. She confidently told him that she knew the owner and they would be able to get out of the situation. But to her shock, my dad instructed her to start cleaning the restaurant. Kelly was stunned and tried to protest, but my dad quickly reminded her that since she didn't consider me family, he didn't consider her family either. It was a hilarious turn of events, and while I wish I could have been there to see it in person, the pictures were more than enough to make my day. A little while later, James came home looking visibly upset. I could tell that Kelly had already contacted him and likely twisted the story to suit her narrative. As he approached me, he immediately questioned what he had heard something about my dad making his mom wash dishes at the restaurant. I calmly explained the situation to James, letting him know that what happened was standard practice for us in such scenarios. Kelly had gone to our family's restaurant, racked up a $5,000 bill, and then claimed she only had $2,500 to pay. On top of that, she had harassed the staff, and her entire party had been a nightmare to deal with. Given the circumstances, I believe the consequences were more than fair. James seemed surprised by this and asked who Kelly had taken with her and what they had ordered. I informed him that she had taken 21 people and they had ordered a lot, especially the most expensive items on the menu. He expressed disbelief, saying that Kelly had told him she was only taking 5 people and had even invited me, but I had declined. I quickly clarified that things hadn't happened that way at all and showed him the text messages Kelly had sent me. James, wanting to fully understand the situation, asked to see the bills and the texts. I handed him my phone so he could read through everything, and my dad also sent him copies of the bills. To further illustrate what had gone on, I showed him pictures of the extravagant party Kelly had thrown. As James looked through the evidence, his anger grew. He immediately called Kelly to confront her, asking why she hadn't told him the full story. Kelly tried to downplay the situation, claiming she had only mentioned being short on cash and accused me of twisting the story to sabotage her. James wasn't having any of it. He pointed out that not only had she declined my invitation, but she had also insulted me by saying I wasn't classy enough for her. Kelly attempted to brush it off as a harmless joke, but James wasn't buying it. He pressed her on why she would spend thousands of dollars on a lavish party with friends while simultaneously disrespecting his wife. Kelly was left stumbling over her words, trying to justify her actions, but James made it clear that he was disappointed and shocked by her behavior. He couldn't believe she had spent $5,000 on food and drinks while treating me with such disdain. "I made a mistake by giving you money whenever you asked for it, Mom," James said firmly. "But guess what? I'm not giving you any more money ever again." Kelly, taken aback, responded, "But James, you've been so supportive for so long. You can't just stop now. It was a one-time mistake. Why are you overreacting?" "No, Mom, I'm not overreacting," James replied, his voice steady. "This isn't a one-time mistake. If you can't even consider my wife as family, I don't want anything to do with you. I kept hoping you'd change your mind, but you never did. I'm not going to pay you just so you can insult my wife and call her classless, especially when she has sacrificed so much to support you. This ends now." With that, James ended the call and blocked Kelly's number. He turned to me with deep regret in his eyes and apologized profusely for getting angry at me without knowing the full story. I forgave him because, in the end, he stood up for me when it really mattered. We had a serious discussion about Kelly and agreed that she would no longer be a part of our lives, at least for the time being. Although James is now a wealthy man, he understands the importance of staying humble. He found Kelly's behavior completely unacceptable, especially since it was directed towards me. I wholeheartedly agreed it was unfair, and I was ready to remove her from our lives for good. In the days that followed, Kelly's desperation grew. She realized that her own actions might have permanently damaged her relationship with her son, sending her into a state of panic. She started showing up at our house, demanding to speak with James. Each time she was turned away at the door, her demands turned into pleas and eventually into outright begging. Despite having a job, Kelly's income wasn't enough to support the high-end lifestyle she had become accustomed to over the years. Now, with James cutting her off financially, she found herself struggling. Meanwhile, instead of continuing to support Kelly, James chose to invest some of his funds into my dad's business, helping him open new hotels and restaurants in the neighborhood. Kelly was left to face the consequences of her actions, realizing too late that her behavior had cost her more than just money, it had cost her the relationship with her son. We do have plans to expand our hotel business into bigger cities, but we'll have to take things one step at a time and see what the future holds. There's a lot to consider when making such a big move, and we want to make sure everything is done right. Since James stopped sending money to Kelly, her life has taken a significant turn. She was used to living a much more comfortable and extravagant lifestyle, but now things have changed dramatically for her. Without the financial support from James, Kelly found it increasingly difficult to maintain her rented condo. The bills started piling up, and she quickly realized that her own income wasn't enough to cover the high costs she was used to. After struggling to make ends meet, she finally decided to end her lease and move into a much smaller one-bedroom apartment. Now, after paying all her bills, she barely has any money left for anything extra. The luxuries she once took for granted are no longer within her reach. We know all of this because Kelly makes sure to keep us informed through emails, of course. She still tries to downplay her past behavior, acting as though we're the ones overreacting and that she's done nothing wrong. But the reality is clear. Her actions have led to this situation, and as a result, she'll be out of our lives for the foreseeable future. Just a month ago, I discovered that I'm pregnant and James and I couldn't be happier. This news has brought so much joy into our lives, and we're completely focused on preparing for the arrival of our little one. We've been busy planning every detail, from setting up the nursery to making sure we have everything we need for when the baby comes. It's an exciting and busy time, but we wouldn't have it any other way. Honestly, I'm relieved that our child won't be exposed to the kind of negativity and shallowness that Kelly represents. As we prepare to welcome our baby into the world, I'm determined to protect our child from any harmful influences, especially from someone who has shown such little regard for others. If the time ever comes when Kelly tries to be a part of our child's life, I'll make sure she doesn't have the opportunity to fill our child's head with any nonsense or negativity. For now, we're focusing on being the best parents we can be and ensuring that our child is born into a loving and supportive environment. We're hoping for a healthy, happy baby, and we're grateful for all the blessings we've received. As we embark on this new chapter in our lives, we kindly ask for your well wishes and support as we prepare to welcome our